Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to look at a fishing reel failure, and we're going to see why the fishing reel failed. I've been doing a lot of these series lately because you can often learn a lot about the weaknesses of a fishing reel or the abuse of a fishing reel or other things by, well, when they break, as opposed to just going on and servicing the reel. So this one turns the handle, doesn't turn the gears, doesn't turn the spool, and it's just completely locked up. I guess the handle's probably turning because the drag is not on. But when the drag is on, you're locked. There's nothing going on there. So the question becomes, what's tangled up inside here, or what's causing this reel to fail? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to try and do a diagnosis of the reel to see what the cause is and learn from that in terms of how to avoid that or how to repair it. So if you like these kinds of videos, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button so that you become alerted every time that I post a video. Some of them will be on problem diagnosis. A lot of them will be on how to repair fishing reels, both modern and vintage ones. And, well, you'll get to learn along with me, and you'll learn how to do it yourself. Well, we're going to take the handle off first. This handle is pretty worn and wobbly. It's an older reel. That knob probably should be replaced. Also, I'm looking here, and I'm seeing rounding on this gear sleeve. That's never a good thing, but it hasn't worn or elongated out the handle yet. But that's not the cause of the problem. And we're going to take off the star adjuster next. Well, if you're repairing this reel, if you're servicing this reel, or if you just want to learn how to take it apart, doing what I'm doing here is kind of central to all of it. You want to have an organization for your thinking and a plan of attack before you go in there. We know that it's got to be something internal, because if we look at the back end of this reel, that side plate's not chipped. There's no missing screws, broken parts, or things here that would cause a jam. And so we know that somewhere inside this, something's gone wrong. And when you start with that premise, then the next thing you want to do is organize your approach. My approach is to take those three pieces off that we did there, the screw, the handle, and the star adjuster, because you can't remove them very easily if you take the side plate off first. So it's always easier to do that one when it's on the reel. Next thing you want to do is you want to take the side plate off. And I know this reel, I know the series of the reel, I don't know this reel particularly, but there's two different sets of screws on this reel, so it always makes good practice to go ahead and, when you remove the screw, put the screw on the table and make sure that you notice if there's a difference between the sizes of the screws. That's pretty common in Penn reels and a lot of other reels that are conventional reels, in that the side plate screws that hold the crossbars are longer than the side plate screws that hold the reel seat. Now in this case it's not. I just looked in there. It's not, because I'm sure the original ones have been removed at some point. So let's go ahead and take those out, and we're going to put these into a parts tray, which is another approach. When you take your reels apart, you want to organize your pieces and parts so that you have a way to put them back together and a way that you don't lose them. And I use a parts tray for that. I use the bottom of a fast food container. There's a whole bunch of different approaches to figure that out. That's just one of them. All right, with the side plate screws out, we can remove the side plate. And we still don't have an answer here, I don't think. Let's turn the side plate. The gear side is turning fine. So that says that it has to be between the spool and here, usually. And my guess is going to be that there's bad line on that side. Probably broken line. There's all kinds of something going on in there. Wow. Yep, that's exactly what it is. And boy, is that tangled too. So what we have here is we have line that got wrapped around in here and caught on the click mechanism. And I don't know if you can see that there, but what we're going to do is we're going to grab a bench scissors as soon as I can find one. I'm going to sneak that in there, cut a few pieces and see if we can get it out that way. Well, it's still cut up in there, but that's really quite a tangle. And there you go. So you can see that there's a host of old line wrapped around the shaft. Quite a bit of it. It's not quite as much as on the whole thing, but there you go. You have a line got into that corner, and normally you can still turn the spool with that, but what happened here is that the line wrapped around the click tongue. You can see how it's there. That's where we actually cut it with the scissor. And when it wrapped around that click tongue, well, it was like mooring your boat to a piling, right? It wrapped into the click mechanism, and it wrapped into the click tongue. It's also pulled this apart. And what we're going to need to do to repair this then is we're going to have to get all of that old line out there, and we're going to have to make sure that this works. Well, how do you do that? This one fortunately has one of the click rings that can be removed. There are versions of this reel where that is not possible. If you find one that is not possible, you're going to have to work around it, but if you have the one with the screw on there where you can remove the click ring, that makes it a whole lot easier to do. And then what we want to do is we want to rotate that click tongue and pull out the old pieces of the string. So how does this happen, right? It seems odd that you would have your line trapped in there, but it happens a whole lot more than you may think. I think I got one more good pull there. Yep, all right, I think we got it now. I'm just going to move this in and out. I'm going to use a pliers for this to kind of just push this back a little bit. It's still pinching line in here. Okay, well, I'm going to spray that down with some penetrating oil. We'll loosen all of that up and we'll come back to it. But let's talk for a moment about how that happens. This is a bearing adjuster on the side plate of the reel. And when you have your bearing adjuster way out, what will happen is there'll be movement in the spool. You'll see where it can go back and forth. Well, when it creates a separation or a gap on the one side, and that would be right here, you can see that. Under strain, that fishing line is going to go behind the spool, and as you continue to reel, it's going to start wrapping on that click mechanism. When it wraps there, eventually you're going to break up, and you're going to think, well, I guess what happened was I must have snagged a rock or substructure or something that's caused me to do that. I tried to crank out of it, and the next thing I know, my reel doesn't work. Well, your reel didn't work because of the issue with the line getting tangled on this side, and you have to do what we just did here to repair it. You need to remove the reel side plates. You need to make sure that all of the broken line is off on both sides, and then if you've recently tuned the reel up, you don't need to do anything other than to replace the side plates and you're off fishing again. But in this case, this reel hasn't been serviced in a while. This belongs to a commercial fleet, and I'm going to take the time to rebuild the side plate in addition to fixing the issue with the broken line. So I'll call that a tuition reel. We've learned why this particular reel fails, and we learned that it's a common failure if the bearing is too loose. If there's excessive movement in the spool, you will develop a entry point for a line to come in, and if the line tangles and breaks off inside, chances are that the reel will stop working, and in that case you need to remove the side plates, remove the broken pieces, and then, well, you're back fishing again. So I hope you've enjoyed that little learning exercise there. this reel will have a second chance to go fishing. If you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, please leave them in the comment section. I'll be happy to return those questions, the answers to you where I know them. And if I don't, I'll try and direct you to someone who may know the answers to them. To all of our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.